Welcome to Crimson Tide Connection, your home for Crimson Tide sports, and I'm joined today by the head coach of the Alabama women's tennis team, Jenny Mainz. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome, Coach. You had a pretty exciting weekend this past weekend. You beat number 17 Auburn 4-3 on Friday to improve to 13-1, 5-0 in the SEC. Just talk about that weekend, and it had to be an exciting matchup down there against Auburn, didn't it?
Oh my gosh, I mean, it was a thriller. We first and foremost, we had an incredible crowd. I don't know, we didn't necessarily do a head count, but I think we had probably at least 400 fans out there, and our Crimson Racket Club sponsored a cookout, so we tailgated with the Tide before the match. Had hot dogs and hamburgers, and it just created such a festive environment. I think the fans really enjoyed it, and I know that probably all head coaches say this, but they most assuredly play a role in the match. I mean, the spirit, the enthusiasm, it was just I always use the word electric, but it was an electric atmosphere, and it certainly helps our team. So it was a fun match. You know, we've played with our backs against the wall all season. It's just been countless situations where whether we've lost the doubles point or we just got behind, but this team will not go away. They are relentless. I mean, it's just that steadfast mentality where they just, it's almost as if, you know, the more adversity that happens, whether it's losing the doubles point or, you know, getting behind, it's almost like it fuels them. You know, it just inspires them to raise their game. And, you know, I've said this all season, we're getting help from all different spots. You know, certain people are coming through on this day and certain people coming through on another day. Of course, some people have just been rock solid all year. But, you know, it's just, I think that's a mark of a good team is when you can get help from different spots. And when I say different spots, I'm talking about the, you know, freshmen, sophomore, juniors. It's not just the veteran players that have the experience and the maturity. Our younger players, Maya Jansen, Natalia Mainetto, and Emily Zaber are displaying a tremendous amount of confidence and maturity and poise, and of course that held true on Friday. We had a freshman down 5-1 in the third against a senior who has, you know, been a strong player for Auburn. And this player, Kurteva, had a lot of confidence because she got a win at #1 doubles Friday night, beat Alexa and Marianne, and then, you know, carried that momentum into her match at #6 against Natalia. And Natalia was down 5-1 and won 6 straight games to clinch the match for us.
It's incredible. For a freshman to go against a senior like that. What did you say to her to keep her focused, to give her that confidence? Because it seemed like she just didn't quit, did she? Well,
she didn't quit, but I certainly cannot take the credit for that. Two people are responsible for that. First and foremost, Natalia. Natalia, you could see the focus. I mean, she was locked in. She wasn't looking at the crowd. She wasn't even looking at her teammates and responding and kind of interacting with them, you know, with the energy. She was locked in. You know, eyes were on her strings. Eyes were on the match in front of her. I thought her intensity and her focus were amazing. But Max Norris, our assistant coach, he was down at that end of the court with Tony Fusa and with Natalia, and Max has done a tremendous job of keeping them focused, keeping them, you know, on track, staying the course. In that match, Natalia won the first set 6-1. So she had all the momentum, and then, to be honest with you, I was on the complete opposite side, so I really did not, you know, I saw points here and there, but, you know, it's impossible to kind of lock in on that match too. And Max did a great job. I mean, I think Natalia and Max do a good job, you know, communicating and working together, and they made it happen. I mean, they wouldn't quit, you know, and I think Max designs a good, you know, strategic game plan for her. She believes in it, she trusts it, and good things happen.
Obviously so. It worked out well, didn't it?
It sure did.
For her to be able to bounce back from down 5-1. Well, Coach, you know, we were talking earlier before we started this that, you know, this team has lost doubles matches. They've been behind in singles matches this season, but they found a way somehow to always, you know, to be resilient and come back. What does that say about this team, but also just going forward? Because you're going to have a lot of tough matches coming up, especially this coming weekend. So what does that say about this team?
Well, you know, I think it says a lot of things. I mean, we've won 5 4-3 matches. And then we had a 4-2 match with Northwestern, a 4-2 match with Clemson. We beat Clemson, we lost to Northwestern. But, you know, 5 4-3 wins, I mean, I think it demonstrates the character, the tenacity, the resiliency, and I've used the word steadfast, just that you know, just the mentality that no matter what happens, you've still got a chance. And I think that comes from, I mean, I think we cultivate that kind of a mentality in practice, and you know, they work hard every day in practice. So I think when it comes to match time, they believe that they have the edge, they believe they've done the work, but they believe in themselves. I think they believe in Alabama, they trust Max and I, and you know, they've bought in, but most importantly, it comes from them. It's, you know, it's the X factor, it's internal, it's all the intangibles, that knowing that on Monday through Friday you've done all the hard work.
Right.
You know, it's you know, I know most coaches, you know, say I always say you can't turn the switch on game day or match day, or, you know, for the big show. It's what you do, all the little details, day in and day out, and it's a discipline. But at the end of the day, they believe. They expect it, they believe, and they believe in each other. And the other thing is, I think they play together. And I think that that's been a trademark of our program, even, you know, in years when we've struggled or we haven't had as much success. I still believe that that is a key factor for the Alabama Crimson Tide. We play together, and we're in it together regardless of the circumstances. But I mean, you know, one word, well, I'd have to use 2 words to describe this team. You know, tremendous character and just gutsy. I mean, okay, 3 words: resilient.
Yes, resilient.
Resilient.
Well, Coach, I think you're probably going to need some of all 3 of those this weekend. You had a great home crowd this past weekend here in Tuscaloosa, but you're going to need all that together when you travel down to Gainesville to take on the number 4 Florida Gators, and then also as you travel to face South Carolina. How do you see this team matching up against the Gators and the Gamecocks? Well,
you know, I told the team in the locker room after we beat Auburn, we talked about the Auburn match and all the, you know, positives. And what I like to do is at the end of the match, let them have some, you know, interaction. I always ask them, what did you think? How do you think the day went? What do you think, how did the team get better? And what do you think we need to work on as a team? And it's really interesting to hear their feedback. But immediately upon concluding that conversation, we shifted gears immediately to the coming weekend and more importantly, the work week and what we were going to get done today on Monday. And, you know, it's expectations. I mean, we've said all year that we're treating every match the same. Auburn is not bigger or smaller than the match that we just played. You know, South Carolina is not more important or less important than Florida. It's just we've focused on, that's the next one on our schedule. Florida right now is the next one on our schedule. They're very good. They've always been very good. They're well coached. They're a mature team. They have a lot of experience. But there's been so many upsets, and there's been so much more parity in college tennis in general, on the men's side and the women's side. I tell the team every day, anything can happen. You know, you lace it up, lace your shoes up, you get out there. This team has a lot of confidence. They have a lot of maturity for being a young team. I think the leadership has been great. We have a lot of depth. Anything can happen. We're ready. We're treating it like any other match. It's not bigger. It's not smaller. And we're excited to go face the Gators and the Gamecocks. I think they're both going to be great matches. I have a tremendous amount of respect for both programs and both coaches. So we'll be ready just like we've been ready every week. But I think, you know, it's the next test, getting back on the road and certainly going to play at Florida with their crowd and everything. That's what college tennis is all about. We got to be road warriors this weekend.
Should be fun down there in Gainesville, won't it? And too in Columbia as well. Should be a good weekend.
It's fun to be battle tested, and that's where we are with our schedule, and that's where we are in the SEC climb. So, you know, I always tell the team, it just, you know, it's going to continue to go upward, and that's the league that we play in. That's what makes all of us so much better week in and week out, is that we're playing the best players and the best teams in the country every week, and it makes you better. It makes you stronger. So we're encouraged. We're optimistic and looking forward to it.
Well, Coach, good luck this weekend as you travel down to Gainesville and over to Columbia, South Carolina. And we'll have a full recap of those matches on RollTide.com. following the matches. So, Coach,
Thank
good
you.
luck.
Thanks. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide for head coach Jenny Mainz. I'm Christopher England, and that's it for this edition of the Crimson Tide Connection.